Today, how much chill could a ChillPoint point if a ChillPoint could ChillPoint? 5. This is ChillPoint.
I like it when the headline contains the answer.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting you to have an answer. That was good.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to Sunday ChillPoint.
Yeah, have a happy Friday.
So, yeah.
Unless you're watching this on YouTube, it might be Tuesday.
It feels weird.
Oh, that's true. Who knows what day it is? It could be any day.
Welcome to church.
Ew, no, I didn't sign up for that. I specifically went to work so I wouldn't have to go. How dare you?
Wait, that was the alternative? You either come here or you go to church?
I mean, when I was younger.
Yeah. You didn't have much of a choice, right? It's kind of one of those your parents say, this is what's happening now, so
You
get
have to
ready.
go. Yeah,
Hey.
and then when you hit an age where you're like, wait, I don't have to go everywhere my parents go, you try telling them that you're not going to church that week.
Oh,
Disappointment is a heavy, heavy punishment.
I never had to tell them that at all because we never went.
Well, this just in, we're all going to the bad place, apparently.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Pretty sure we're already there. If,
Hey,
if the bad
everybody.
place is worse than this, I don't know. I feel like I can already survive. What are they gonna do? Give me fire?
You're going to work through your problems and then eventually, you'll rise out of the hole. Every show that has hell in it these days
I really like that,
is all
though.
about leaving hell
I
and
really-
eventually getting
I
to heaven,
really-
which
I
I'm
really-
like, hope is awesome.
I really loved the fact that they were like, oh, everyone's the reason that they're in their own hell. They should just,
Yeah.
if we give them therapy and they work through their problems, they could go to a better place.
Yeah, yeah. Lucifer did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Lucifer's the one that I'm
Yeah,
referencing.
absolutely.
Apparently, it's the Super Bowl right now, which
Is it?
I kind of forgot. But
Oh,
yeah,
great. We're doing counter programming.
the Super Bowl, yeah.
Can we actually? Is it operating right now?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
Oh, you're going to do the sports thing.
I don't think we can compete with the advertising
It's not on yet.
during the Super Bowl.
Nice.
Well, but we're going to talk about game advertising. Isn't that basically
It's
the
true.
same?
It starts in 2 hours. Oh, we'll be done by then.
We got
It's
lots of
fine.
time.
Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint. It's a show where eventually we talk about video game stuff. All the week's video game news, or the video game news that we choose to talk about anyway, the funny part. And also the episode of Checkpoint that came out this week. So let's get to it. Starting with some of the stories that was in the episode of Checkpoint. There's a couple of Overwatch things going on. First, they set up a dating sim called
Loverwatch.
Loverwatch.
No, Overwatch is the original. Loverwatch is the spin-off.
Yeah.
Did we both say the same thing, or did we both say it differently?
We said different things.
Great. Okay.
And it's so yeah, you get to have a you get to engage. I wasn't able to actually play the game. It wasn't actually active yet when we were writing this story, which
It's not active till Valentine's Day.
or right before Valentine's Day.
Okay.
So it might be available now. I don't know, but you'll be able to romance either Mercy or Genji, which in research for this story, or for doing graphics for this story, I guess I should say, I found out that among the internal to the Overwatch team,
Okay.
I believe Mercy/Genji are the closest to a canonical couple in the sense, and close in the sense that I don't think they've actually been said that they're a couple.
Right.
But there are some voice lines of them giving thanking each other for giving them chocolates on Valentine's Day and
okay.
stuff.
It's we don't know if it's in that order either. We don't know if it's Mercy X Genji or Genji X Mercy, but probably
Yeah,
Mercy
we don't know
X
who the top
Genji.
or bottom is.
Exactly.
That's fine. That's their business.
If you know who the Seme and Uke are, you let us know.
So I don't know. It seems unnecessarily
Restrictive?
Well, no. It just seems unnecessary. It's like of all the people to say it's because you don't get to date Mercy and Genji
No.
and be like the third in their group.
Yeah.
So it's like there's only one couple
Yeah.
that's even close, and in this dating sim you're breaking them up.
Yeah.
That seems kind of crappy.
Which is weird because if it was more of a because it's not pitched as the idea that you're playing one dating the other, then it's
No.
like we've written some fanfic between these two, but you get to play as one or you get to play as the other, and you're kind of following those roles. Like you're picking
And I
things,
mean-
and yeah.
I mean, maybe that is how it will actually play out. I don't know, because again, we haven't got a chance to play
No.
it.
Because a dating sim is, by all rules, it is you are playing a role. You are playing a character trying to date another character. You're not playing yourself trying to date all these characters because your responses have been predetermined for you. They have already been written. You have to just make the choice of which one that you want to go with.
It's not how all dating sims
Yeah,
are.
yeah, it
There are
depends.
lots
It
of
depends.
dating sims where you're basically playing yourself.
There's lots of
Or a blank
self-insert
slate.
dating.
But
dating
there's
sims.
no free input in dating sims, right? Like you
Well,
can't
no,
just be
they're
like
generally visual novel style things.
yeah, you have to follow a thing and you have to choose
that-
choose stuff and move on.
Sure.
So, by and large, you are writing, even if you're writing a completely faceless character for that person, just a blank protagonist, you are ultimately playing a character that somebody else has already written for
How many
you.
dating sims have you played?
Let's see. Ace Attorney,
Ace Attorney's not a dating sim technically.
Apollo Justice.
It's not a dating sim.
I don't think I've played any dating sims. I played Katawa Shoujo.
I think you need to just
I played Katawa Shoujo.
step back and understand that you're wrong.
So apparently they met when she helped rebuild his body
Oh!
and install the cybernetic state, because he's Genji's like a sort of cyborg ninja kind
Yeah.
of thing. So I mean,
And Mercy's into that.
Mercy actually knows what he looks like under the cybernetics, presumably.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
she knows all the extensive capabilities of his cybernetics.
And she rebuilt him into a thirst trap.
Maybe she knows some like backdoor passwords. Anyway,
I do want to say, because I saw one comment about where someone said that Kathleen clearly didn't know Overwatch whatever's, because like there's like a comment in that story about that coupling is too bland or whatever. But then they also separately said that she'd never been on AO3, and I just want to point out, not being into a fandom doesn't mean you've never been on AO3.
Yeah.
There are a lot of fandoms on
Yeah.
AO3.
Let's say
Those are two separate ideas
Yeah.
that I think you can agree maybe she doesn't read Overwatch fandom,
so yeah, say
but
one thing. Graham actually wrote this story.
So that's
there's that
one.
too.
Yeah, but given the stories for ChillPoint and for other sketches and things that Kathleen has written,
Oh, yeah.
I can guarantee you that she has some familiarity with
AO3.
Maybe not Overwatch in particular, but also the Hanzo is the is Cupid in it, which he's got, and when you go through the whole thing,
The setup.
Does this mean that you can unlock an outfit for him as Cupid in the game?
that's the reward for actually going through this whole thing, is that you get to unlock
I mean, that sounds fun at least.
an outfit for Hanzo as Cupid, which again I find kind of funny, because it's like, oh, we'll have the guy with the bow and arrow as Cupid, which is cool, except his bow and arrow was like, whoa, boom,
Yeah.
it's like a killer, it's like
Yeah.
a giant arrow
Let me hit you with my
that
love
destroys through, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I will say, if there is
My,
character couples that there's evidence that they're canon, there will always be a large contingent of fandom that reads nothing but that.
Yeah.
And then the other large contingent of fandom that's just like, well, that's boring.
I mean, considering you've got, you've got, Hammond Wrecking Ball in
Yeah.
there, and Winston,
Yeah.
and plus you've got
Bastion.
you got your Bastion. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it feels like you could get a lot more creative.
Absolutely, you could.
I wonder how many Braces stories there are. Okay, seriously, there's always somebody who's written the fanfic that's like, oh, these characters both got braces, or this one character
Oh.
got braces, and now when they kiss, their braces are gonna like do whatever. And I'm like,
Oh, really?
the person who's writing this story, I don't feel like has ever gotten braces, because I feel like that's the most terrifying
That's-
idea of a thing you could possibly suggest.
I love that that's like a recurring trope though.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
it's one of those
yeah.
like Chekhov's gun things? Like if a character has braces and is like a character is like specifically mentioned to have braces, it's like, oh, at some point in the story that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean now they have a thing where they can put braces on the back of your teeth, so they can to do the expansion and whatever. So it's like they hide everything back there, so you don't have them on the front of your teeth. So if you manage to get your braces locked together like that, something has gone non-Euclidean. Yeah.
Also, in Overwatch news, there is a couple of new skins. There's a One Punch Man Doomfist skin,
Yes.
Yeah.
which looks great.
Yes.
Like it looks awesome, and of course, like
it's all wrong.
Doomfist is
The punchy guy.
the punchy guy, so that makes sense. But on the other hand, though, there is the aspect where it's like Saitama isn't supposed to be a huge, big buff
No,
guy with
no.
a big punching arm.
Yes.
That's the joke.
yeah.
So, I don't know, but
Yeah, that's the thing. A giant guy who looks like he could one punch someone. Not really.
whose name is Doomfist?
Not
Yeah.
really that interesting to me as the guy who actually looks like One Punch Man, who looks like some guy who just put on a weird jumpsuit one day, and
Yeah.
everyone's like,
Then again, if the idea that Doomfist would be a fan of the One Punch Man manga and anime
Yes.
and want to cosplay as One Punch Man, I
Absolutely.
can totally believe.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who cosplay outside their body type all the time, and it's a little weird in this case that he picked a character that's like,
He's like,
I'm not the same body type. I'm actually the one you would expect, so maybe it's not as interesting. But at the same time, I really like this guy.
I love Doomfist being like, it's like, finally,
Yeah,
punching people is getting the representation it deserves in popular media.
like when we kind of settled on
"That's
that
not
idea
what
of
it's about."
when we settled on the idea that these skins, like skins for Overwatch, don't consider it as a, oh, look, they've got a new outfit. No. Consider it as they're choosing to cosplay as something.
And
It really takes the seriousness, like it kind of elevates the ridiculousness of the whole thing to a new level, I think.
I mean, and then there's Cowboy Cassidy, whose thing is Invisible Man, which, from a cosplay perspective, is a knockout costume, considering he somehow made his head
Actually
disappear.
invisible. Yeah, because usually what they do for Invisible Man,
They just wrap completely in bandages.
Yeah, they wrap you in bandages.
Yeah.
As kind of a thing because you're going to try to go interact with real people, and they need to see that there's something there to not be freaked out about.
But now what you can do is you can get a bodysuit that's printed with little white and gray squares, and you could do that. You know,
I still want those pants.
or black and magenta if you're into Source. But yeah,
Yeah.
But the so anyway, and Kathleen did actually ad-libbed a call out to Graham in this one in the post, because he did write it in the because it is that weird thing where he's dressed up as the not only Invisible Man, but because there was a recent Invisible Man movie that was like a
Was?
yeah, there was like it was like
more of
a
a horror
it was like a
stuff.
horror
have
thriller
missed it.
thing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
There's like a girl's boyfriend who's like stalking her, and he's got an invisible.
I think it was early
outfit.
2000s.
Yeah.
yeah, it was
I
very
would
early
hardly
2000s.
call early 2000s recent
Well,
anymore.
given when the last movie was
No,
made,
this was like within the last 5 years.
no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
See? That I'm willing to accept.
So there's Hollow Man is what I was thinking of. Okay, thank you. Filler.
This is just like her. This is like a girl whose boyfriend is like a tech millionaire and has a super cool super cool like thermoptic camo outfit.
Great.
Like
Anyway.
everything that happened from 2000 to 2010 for me was actually in the 90s.
Right.
And therefore it's even further in the past than you think.
We were having that conversation the other day where you were like, this thing from the 90s. I'm like, 2003. And
Yeah,
you're
as
like,
far as I'm
nope,
concerned,
that's
to
the
the
90s.
Still counts. But anyway, so the idea that they have that the image of the Claude Rains version of the Invisible Man, the like, trench coat and the thing, which is from a 1933 movie, is still sort of in people's sort of popular consciousness as what the Invisible Man should look like. It's kind of a cool, interesting idea.
Yeah, because it was only ever like it was a book, and so you'd have to. You're reading it, and you're probably visualizing a lot of you're visualizing the absence of a man, but you're visualizing what this guy must look like. And a lot of people probably had all different takes, but the moment you put it into visual media, everyone starts to like solidify around something. Yeah. But it has to lock into the consciousness, and this locked hard.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
The Invisible Man still shows up in a lot of like when you get like kids media where they're like, oh, here's the mummy and the vampire,
right,
and whatnot. Then you generally will get an Invisible Man of some kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the universal monster, like you get the pantheon.
Yeah.
I just think that's funny. Sorry, as an aside, that in kids media, the Universal Monster Extended Universe or whatever is like represented there.
There are so many different like kid-friendly monster things.
Yeah,
it's impressive how they can adapt them.
Mm-hmm. Kids love to be scared, apparently.
Except they're not even supposed to be scary.
No,
at that point, they're just like they're fun monsters.
Yeah.
I also kind of like. We've talked a lot about on ChillPoint and on ChillPoint and stuff, controversial or different skins for multiplayer games that have been banned or heavily criticized because they're hard to see. So like a skin that's like all black or something.
Yeah.
And so the idea it's like it's an Invisible Man skin, which seems like that would be a bad skin to put in the game.
But they still gave him like a trench coat and like goggles and stuff.
Hopefully you can, If he actually wanted to be like if he could actually turn himself invisible, he could just run around like that and kill people.
But it's not the Invisible Man nude skin.
No,
it's just the Invisible Man skin.
I wonder if
why won't they show us the Invisible Man nude skin?
I wonder if that was like part of a joke
it's
It's
just like two guns in midair.
Yeah. I wonder if that was like something that they thought
or just a cowboy hat.
In the they're like, okay, so we're gonna make like costumes for people. They're all gonna dress up in costume this time, like that kind of thing. What should we do for everybody? And I wonder if maybe part of the joke within the dev team was, how they keep like putting people in all like shadow skins essentially, and you can't see them because they blend into the darkness. It's like, what if we just made a guy invisible? It's like, you mean like the Invisible Man? Actually, that's way better. Let's just do that. Like,
does the Invisible Man
save that for the Halloween one? Yeah.
Does the Invisible Man cast a shadow?
It depends.
Clothing?
It depends on the. I believe that is something that has been interpreted in different ways depending on the media. Because that is actually a point, right? It's like, does it cast a shadow, or like in rain, can you see the outline of the person
yeah. I suppose there's the rain thing and walking through like water and whatnot.
Yeah. There's some really neat representations of people who can turn invisible and like what that actually, the real implications of what that means in terms of like, what do you look like in fog? Are you like a weird bubble of a person?
Yeah,
in
exactly.
The fog,
as you move through it? Yeah.
Well, because you're invisible. It's not like you don't have any mass.
Right. Yeah.
So there must be something.
I mean, depending on
taking up space.
Depending on how they're trying to pretend it works from a physics standpoint, it works and does different things. Anyway, talking about the cosplay thing. Obviously, and Kathleen's talking about the. I have to explain to my daughter that Predator is not from Fortnite.
Yes.
And there's because there's a Predator skin in Fortnite, and there's the interest. I think actually in the comments under this story, like on Polygon or whatever, people were talking about like skins in games, and. This idea that And Fortnite obviously is probably the most, not has the most skins, but has the most like pop culture sort of diverse skins that aren't actually like part of the mythology. Like they aren't part of Fortnite.
No.
They're sort of random things from other places.
Yeah.
They get put together. Because theoretically Fortnite does have like some sort of internal storyline going on.
Yeah.
That involves like a guy dressed up as a banana. I know. Like that guy is like canonical to the story.
Yes.
But then there's also like Batman. You can play Batman with a giant gun.
You know, as Batman does.
Yeah, which is, rather against Batman's whole thing.
Yeah, this is just the new thing that you like. Kids will not get because it's like that happens with all media. We all have our ages, like Bugs Bunny and the Carrot.
Right.
There will be. I mean, the thing is, though, is that if you're, I used to be a child,
I don't believe you.
so I think I can speak with authority for what children think. Anyway, all children. Speaking on behalf of all children,
Sketchy.
in Fortnite, if you're playing as something and then you see like some random person go by in like another skin, because I'm sure there's thousands of skins at this point. You probably not have seen them all. So you see somebody going by like looking like Goku, and you don't know what that is. You're just like, oh yeah, that weird like orange jumpsuited guy with a monkey tail or whatever, and you maybe try to figure that shit out. I'm sure that while you're playing as Batman, you might be like, well, is that one of Batman's enemies? And then you start looking into it more. You're like, oh, the guy's name is Goku. Okay, well, let's go on the internet and search for Goku, right? And hopefully safe search is on. And you would get like information about who these people are.
Yeah, I wonder if
You already know Batman is not part of Fortnite. Batman is just in Fortnite.
But if you Google Batman versus Goku, you're gonna find all the things that are about Batman versus Goku.
Yes. But if you're looking for who, you're like, I'm playing Batman, but I know Batman has a bunch of movies that aren't like a Fortnite thing or whatever. Or I'm playing as Darth Vader, and I know that that's like a thing from Star Wars or whatever. Like that, if you already can associate one piece of media as existing outside of the game that you're playing, you will pretty quick figure out the fact that, wait, all of these characters might be from something that's outside. So then you start searching for like default or whatever, right? To see like, where's default from? And maybe something stupid comes up. There's nothing to do with that.
Except that's not like... The reason I suggest you probably actually search with Batman and Goku is because, for all you know, Goku brings up a bunch of stuff that doesn't seem to line up with what you've seen.
There's that too, yeah. And there's like a whole bunch of new knowledge you have to learn, but yeah.
But yeah, the idea of being like, yeah, where is, it's like, okay, this is clearly referencing. I mean, I've done that a lot, even as an adult. Been playing a video game or watching a thing. And you're like, okay, that person looks really weird and doesn't fit in. They're clearly referencing something.
Yes.
But I don't know what.
Yeah, I think
and then you go like, okay, let me go check this out.
I think kids quite young would even understand the fact that it's like, if I can buy this skin and be this character, but I also happen to interact with that character. If you can play Chase from Paw Patrol in Fortnite or whatever, you might be like, okay, well, I get that. I can watch a cartoon. Is that a Fortnite cartoon? It's like, well, no, it isn't, is it? It's just something separate.
I think Fortnite and Paw Patrol might be a slightly different demographic.
It might not line up. I don't know if Chase has made it into Paw Patrol yet.
This is why I don't agree with Beach being able to talk about children. He didn't have the internet at the age range that he was supposedly a child. Yeah. Which again, no proof exists.
It's true. None of us had the internet as kids.
No. Yeah.
So that's going to definitely change stuff.
I think that it's definitely possible that, like, if you're not the idea of some kids being like, oh yeah, that's that Predator dude that's in Fortnite. I believe that is a thing that actually happens.
Oh, probably. Yeah. But I'm not saying that isn't.
Yeah, but I also believe that there is a point where you see past the thing of, oh, that's that Predator guy that's in Fortnite. Oh, wait, they made a movie out of him
all I'm saying
in 1987?
Is that's not like a new thing for kids to go through, because we went through that with Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Like, your reference point is basically, what did you see first?
Yes.
You're probably not going to necessarily know older stuff. Maybe you do. Maybe that's the kind of thing you end up going and looking for. Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Well, because I remember learning that like Bugs Bunny and a lot of those early Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes characters were explicitly based on specific comedians.
Yeah, movie stars and comedians.
But often like hacky like Catskills comedians that like nobody that even at the time that they were made into cartoon characters were already kind of like
Niche.
just something that the people who made Warner Brothers liked.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, obviously Groucho Marx, and Bugs Bunny, but like
Very regional kind of people.
But
Yeah.
you might associate all your classical music with Bugs Bunny, whereas these days classical music might be associated with a different form of
Yeah,
media,
yeah.
because a lot of classical music is not copyright.
Yeah, and thanks to the loss of like Saturday morning cartoons as kind of a rallying point for like a lot of kids to that's what we did. We all went and watched Saturday morning cartoons my age, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did. We watched Saturday morning cartoons because that was the block in which you did stuff in, and it's shocking to me to discover that it's like that didn't last even 10 years. Like there was a certain point where somehow, it was the rise of cartoon specific stations that broke that mold.
Didn't help, yeah.
But also the idea that it's like it was shocking to me when I started learning how to read Roman numerals, that I was like, what do you mean all the Bugs Bunny, like all this Bugs Bunny and Tweety show, like all the Roadrunner stuff, everything? What do you mean all this stuff was made before I was born? All of it was made before I was born. They haven't made a new one of these since the 1970s.
What
Like
was
that.
it we,
Finding that out fucked with me so bad.
What was it
Wow.
we discovered the other day, like a couple weeks back, that the Jetsons was actually like super old and then got rebooted, and then
Yeah.
they just re-showed everything.
a lot.
Or
That's
something?
the
Yeah.
weird thing. Like a lot of those old cartoons, they like chop them up and repackage them like many times over
Yeah.
into different types of shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
Yeah, where are we?
Yeah.
let's talk about Nintendo. That's something that we never talk about. Nintendo. So Nintendo not doing so great.
No. Having a bit of a tough time.
I mean, it's relative.
they're doing awesome,
They're
actually.
doing fine.
When I say they're not doing that great, as in they're back to where they were at the beginning of 2022.
Yes.
Yeah, which doesn't
'Cause-
seem like a terrible
which
place
doesn't
to
seem,
be.
because apparently like the profits went up over 2022 and then they dropped right down. So
They dropped
it
a
doesn't
little.
doesn't
Yeah.
seem that bad to me. But you know how corporations work. You have to be always
Infinite growth.
growing.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Nobody likes it when the numbers go down.
No.
so the numbers went down
Unless
a little
it's
bit.
employees.
And so they were, and then in response to that, Nintendo gave their Japanese staff a 10% pay increase. And you know we talked about various layoffs and things at some of the other big developers,
Yeah.
Microsoft and Activision Blizzard and all these kind of stuff.
Well, it's getting to
And-
near the end of their fiscal year, and if they don't make their numbers go up by making other numbers go down,
Yeah.
So
something
it's-
bad happens.
And it's tech companies even like in the larger
yeah,
sense
it's
too.
been a lot of tech companies.
Yeah.
So it's
Not all
pretty.
of
So I mean, it's cool. I mean, there's the two aspects where it's like, yes, giant corporation that has all those giant corporation things.
them. Yeah.
It's not your friend. But when a corporation does something like this, then you wanna give that positive encouragement. You want to be like,
Yeah.
that's great, good job.
Yeah, I picked this because I like to do Nintendo stories. We know that, but frankly, if a bunch of other game companies were like laying people off and doing all that, and then one, and not I don't want to say like a minor studio. We might have picked a minor studio if there was a possibility there. But when it's a major studio, and it could have been any major studio, I think we would have done a story on a
Yeah.
pay increase like that for any major studio, as just like, this is a thing that like this. If you're doing bad, just in the abstract, if you're doing poorly, and then you turn around and say, you know what, the best thing to do is to reinvest in our employees, that's a statement.
Yeah.
In 2023, that's basically saying it's like, we don't want to follow what the short-term thinking goal is of other corporations, especially in a fast-moving industry like tech. We feel it's important to focus on the long term, which is why I put in the Satoru Iwata quote. He has been dead for 10 years.
Yeah, that quote is not from this.
No,
yeah.
that can't. Really?
Well, 9 maybe. It was in 2011, was it?
Oh, goodness.
Like that-
I
2013.
feel like it was. I
Yeah,
feel
so
like he's been.
That quote is not
Oh,
in
wow.
response to this particular incident. That was from a way earlier.
Way
incident.
long ago.
But is something that is still brought up.
That quote is from when he took a pay cut.
And
a couple of others, I think,
a bunch
did
of
as
big
well,
Nintendo execs took a big pay
so
cut.
that they would not have to lay off people.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's interesting about this is
2015, thank you.
like Nintendo or Microsoft, cut a bunch of their workforce.
Yes.
And largely how they cut, the main way that they cut that is they completely gutted or I don't know if they actually like stopped it or completely gutted the HoloLens program.
Like the HoloLens isn't dead, but it just means that the department is bereft of people.
Which was their AR thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's one other department or one other project they're working on that they've basically shut down too.
Yeah.
And then, they also, other people from around different things. So, but what was interesting about this is not only Nintendo saying, that we want to increase employee morale and stuff, but there's also this interesting thing saying where Nintendo is saying, all of the projects that we are currently working on are good.
Yeah.
And we should keep working on them.
Yeah.
This current financial problem that we're having is not because, or this current slight downturn in our financial thing isn't because we are spending a bunch of money on a project that is stupid.
Yeah.
Or that we're wasting money on something or whatever.
Or we're being rejected in the marketplace. People don't want to buy our product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is an interesting way of, because like, obviously, it's great to be giving a raise to your employees, whatever the situation. But but obviously, in a situation where your profits are going down, you've got to do an internal analysis of be like, why is this happening?
Exactly.
And if it is indeed we're blowing a bunch of money on HoloLens and nobody wants it, then giving a 10% raise to everybody working in HoloLens doesn't actually make sense.
No, exactly.
I mean, hopefully you can transfer those people somewhere and not just fire them.
In this case, I believe this raise is due to inflation.
Right. Well,
that's why it's specifically Japan.
Right, and they're saying it's like, the cost of living has increased.
The base pay of somebody starting out has also increased.
The Japanese government has been saying that, like, the government himself has said, please, corporations who function here, please pay your employees more because we are seeing that the price in stuff is going up. And I don't know if maybe Japan is a net import company. I actually don't know. But they can see that the prices of things are going up, and that's largely things that they're not going to have a ton of influence over. And so for the government to be like, globally this is an issue, and we can only do so much to relieve whatever, and if you have the ability, please pay your employees more so that they don't feel like they've been burdened with this thing too bad. Like, from the government to just straight out say, this is shitty and we can't do anything about it, you have to be the ones to do something about it. And then for a major corporation that has been over 100 years old, that has been a big part of Japan, saying, yeah, we'll pay our workers more, that should set a touchstone. That should be a thing that other people look at and be like, shit, yeah, we should maybe do that too because they're doing it.
That is a very weird, like,
you don't hear from the government, right?
Well, you can't imagine the government of in North America and Canada or the United States doing that.
Yeah.
Well, you can imagine the government doing that, and then the companies being like,
how dare?
The companies being like, so
whatever.
What will you give us?
Yeah, where's my incentive? You need to
give us money. And
like,
we'll do it, yeah.
The government can't even if the government is like, you can pay less taxes, the chances are companies are going to be like, great. Were we supposed to do something with that extra money?
Yeah, sorry, you just said I could pay less taxes. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember, a lot of the like financial stimulus stuff over the pandemic didn't trickle down the way they were hoping it would.
Can I talk about the idea of that Satoru Iwata quote in a larger context?
Sure.
Because he wasn't the first one to come up with this idea.
I mean, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
It's just the one that we know in gaming a lot.
Exactly. And it's kind of it's nice to be able to point to, here's this guy who's kind of
Also,
regarded.
we really like him quite a bit.
Yeah, he's kind of regarded as a hero in the industry, right? It was very sad to see him go because it really felt like here's a guy who games and who was a coder and who like
He cared.
and he
Yeah.
cared. He cared a lot about making that work that way. And I'm getting sad again about that. So anyway, but in the larger context, Iwata didn't come up with that idea as a fresh thing. This has been borne out by research and observation over time. Is that your company operates better when you can maintain employees and when you can do more to affect their morale in a positive way. And that isn't just putting apples in the break room. That's about like actually finding ways
Letting
to
them work out at work and never leave.
yeah, it's about finding ways to help them feel like they're valued in by paying them more money or by giving them more benefits that actually help to offset some of the trouble. And the thing is that there's so much research that bears those ideas out that it is weird to see so many really large companies where they're like, we're going to staff up during the pandemic and because we know that technology is going to be a big thing, and so we need to hire as many tech people as we can so we can start building out massive tech programs, and then being like, well, the first little downturn we see, that's it, we cut a bunch of people and we save a bunch of money. And it's like you're in the long run you'd be better off hunkering down and being like, cut in any other way that we can find a way to cut, but keep the employees and find them things to work on and push.
A lot of that stuff seems to be done out of short-term gain more than anything else.
Yeah, because it's shareholders who are saying we're running the show and we will replace everybody on the board or we'll replace the people running the place. And yeah,
and obviously there's no absolute best ideas, right? Sometimes you do need to cut things or whatever. But
there's absolutely those cases.
Yeah, but the amount that we see happen, especially this time of year across the industries we're seeing it,
it's a very monkey see, monkey do
feels
kind of
a lot
thing.
like we're trying to make certain numbers hit, and this is the easiest way we can do it without.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
mean,
just sad.
There's always that thing though where it's like, we've done a bunch of research and found that people work better. And so we're going to, when they're happier, so we're going to give them, we're going to give people a 10% cost of living raise. It's going to make everybody really happy and everything, and it'll be great. And then the board or the financial people come back and they're like, okay, but would they be almost as happy and work just as hard if we gave them a 9% raise?
Yes.
And people are like, I guess.
Well, then why wouldn't we just consider an 8% raise?
It's like, okay, then we're saving like $100 million.
Yeah.
And so then that's where you get and then you get the spiral.
Yeah. Eventually you're like, well, okay, but it's, it's 2%, right? We're going to give them 2% is what we argued about. And so really 1.5 is really the way to go. And you're like, fuck, how did we get here?
Anyway. The other thing about this story is Bij asked me, he's like, I want to go meet some blue badgers.
Right.
And Bij was like, either an image of a badger I want either an image of a badger painted blue or the blue badger mascot from Ace Attorney.
Yes.
And I was like, well, here's a badger that's painted blue.
Or rather, I will make you a badger painted
blue.
blue.
I will take this picture of a badger and paint it blue, and that works out great. But also, later on, I ended up using the picture of the blue badger mascot. And the reason why I didn't use the blue badger mascot for this is that person does not look at all like a blue badger.
No.
And I don't get it. I haven't played the Ace Attorney games, and so it made no sense to me.
There were definitely comments that were like, I wonder if Beach has played the Ace Attorney games because of the Blue Badger update.
And then update.
He clearly has.
He clearly has.
They just showed an image.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I specifically requested when we did the CSUF campus police department, I'm like, we might as well put up a police mascot for them rather than their actual image. And I'm like, put up the actual blue badger. Now I have continuity in my jokes.
If you like essentially mystery type games that are in the style of a visual novel, you might like it, but you will also have to suspend disbelief for the idea of all the courts have decided that trials can only happen over 3 days, and even if you prove yourself innocent, if you don't point out who the bad guy is and definitively prove them, you're guilty.
Yeah, the people who.
So
from
there's
what-
some stuff you have to be willing to like.
From what I can understand, the
Not
people who
worry
made
about.
the Ace Attorney games have very little idea of how
Courts.
courts, attorneys, or the law work.
Yeah. I do love that they draw a straight line between are you an attorney or are you a prosecutor, and it's like, aren't they all attorneys? Yes, in our language they're all attorneys, but in the Japanese language, prosecutors
Oh, no.
and attorneys, because bengoshi is like a different word, attorneys are defense attorneys.
Yeah.
And then prosecutors are a different thing.
I absolutely love the game where they get into the high school where your tracks are to be a lawyer or a prosecutor or a judge.
Or a judge. You can just go to high school to become a judge. Just get out of high school and you're a judge.
Wow.
I love that series. It's so good.
What do they call the city? Because it's in Los
Okay,
Angeles, but it's
okay.
Los Japangeles is what it is.
They don't give it a name.
Yeah.
It's just like
No, but what do the
it's
fans
clearly-
call it?
Oh, it's like Japalifornia
Thank
or
you,
something
yes.
like that. Or they often try to take California and Japan and like
They mash
throw
them
them
together.
again. Or I've seen a couple that call it like Lost Tokyo.
Yeah.
San
Or why
Fran
not?
Tokyo.
Yeah, San
that-
Francisco is
San
from Big Hero
Francisco.
6, right?
I like that.
the thing where it's like, the Katie Tedrick's thing about eat your hamburgers, Apollo, like, and they're eating ramen.
Yeah, because there are definitely a couple of things where like you can tell that they'll talk about hamburgers, but they're clearly at like a ramen shop.
Yeah.
Right,
Or,
right.
That after the first game, they were like, "Oh no, we wrote ourselves into a corner."
there-
Well, ride it
there-
out.
There is a game. There is one of the games where they go to visit a place that's clearly like some sort of Shinto village or something,
Yep.
and they're like,
It's an amusement park."
It's this wrestling amusement park. That's why these things are happening." And you're just
Nice.
like, no,
It's
but
not
okay.
The thing is it's like the first game was like, well, we'll try to localize the whole thing, and then they realized that they're like, oh, we fucked up.
I
Well,
mean-
that's fine. We'll just keep it going. And I'm like, it's not lazy anymore. They
That's-
actually have to work
That's
harder.
not also where they ended up. Like, they didn't, I mean, they probably didn't know this was going to happen, but the first game is called Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. And then later games are Ace Attorney, the name. Because the
'Cause-
series is Ace Attorney, but Phoenix Wright isn't the main character eventually.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, oops.
Because in Japan, the series is called Gyakuten Saiban. It's Turnabout Courtroom.
Yeah.
They never got it. It never gave a name to the main character. We did that
Yeah.
in the English side.
Oh, but it's full of puns, Paul. So you
Is-
might really like that.
So is
I don't
there-
know why I'm trying so hard to sell you on this game in the middle of this show.
I'm not against the Ace Attorney games. I just had never played it.
Is there anything about this Nintendo story in a larger context or
I think-
anything
I
else?
think
I think we
we
kind of
might
nailed
be-
it all.
I think we're
Great.
done on this
nailed
right.
that one.
Awesome.
I think we can go to the next one.
I mean, other than the little extra bit that the Switch is the third best-selling console of all time.
Yeah,
just-
that shocked
Just
me.
bypassed the PlayStation 2?
PlayStation 2 with the 155, Nintendo DS with 154. So
yeah.
they got
Oh, right,
so
say
PS2 is the
PlayStation 3.
top.
yeah, and it'll
Yeah.
be very hard to pass that one.
I don't know if they keep their lifespan of the console going and they don't give us a sequel to it. Maybe one day they could.
But I made an argument, or I made an offhand remark. It's like everybody already has a Switch, and I kind of feel like
there's certainly
they're
a
still
saturation level. Yeah.
they're still selling Switches. We know
They're
that they
special
are.
editions.
Yeah, they're
I'm
special.
I'm surprised that the Wii didn't
And new
get
colors
higher up in
sometimes
there.
come out.
Like, because everyone was talking
Yeah.
about that the Wii was sort of hitting markets that weren't really into video games previously.
Yeah, and I think that's because it's like they hit about 100 million. I thought was the Wii, or was it 88 million? They sold a ton. Like I think
Yeah.
they cracked three figures. And yeah, I was surprised to find out the Switch sold more than the Wii. Even though that's like the Switch is kind of like, because of the consolidation of Nintendo's market into like the console handheld hybrid kind of model, that idea of, well, who's gonna want this? And it turns out everybody's gonna want one. And it was hard to get
Right.
them for a while, but I wonder if because they're so long in the tooth that it's like that's actually preventing people to want to buy one now, because they're like, we can wait for the next gen version of this.
Right. As people in chat say, yeah, the PS2 was the cheapest DVD player for a very long
Yep.
time.
Yeah, that's in Europe too by hundreds
Yeah,
of euros.
it was one of the bigger selling points of the PS2. Even if you didn't want to like buy it for gamings, you bought it for the ability to play DVDs.
You just had to like use a controller to do your DVD unless you wanted to buy the remote thing.
It seems weird then because it's like I would love to see what those numbers are adjusted for. Did you buy a PS2 because you needed a DVD player? And maybe
I mean, I guess
did
you could
never play a game on
compare
it?
compare it against game sales. I guess.
That would be. I don't know if that's how you actually fit that in or not. It's like I'd love to know if there is a thing. Are they low by 30 million because they're like, oh, we sold an extra 30 million in Europe because people just want a DVD player. You'd have no way of figuring this out.
I would suggest that's why the next iterations ended up having Blu-ray players in them.
Yeah, because as far as a dedicated game console that does nothing else, the DS at 154 is still an insurmountable thing. I think for the Switch to try to make it past. Yeah.
Talking about, we've mentioned them a couple times already, but good old Activision Blizzard acquisition.
Right.
Just churning its way through the systems. And I'll be honest, I feel like a little bit of sympathy for a giant corporation trying to do this thing, because it's like, it's that thing. It's not even, it's like when there's stories about like people getting in trouble for making a website and they're in, the website is in Sweden or something, and they get the American
Internet cops.
The American authorities go after them, and they're like, what we're doing is not illegal here.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a different situation because these big companies are multinational corporations. But there's a thing where they not only have to get this thing by the FCC, they have to get, or the FTC, they have to get it through everybody's authorities.
Yeah.
They have to get it through the FTC. Well, the three main ones anyway: the FTC, the UK authority, and the EU authority.
Yeah.
And any of them can put the kibosh to it, which is although apparently they do talk to each other in the sense of like, apparently that's why the FTC, because we talked about that a couple weeks ago, the FTC ruling on it, they also were not happy about it and are putting in a lawsuit against it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that came down a lot earlier than everyone thought it was going to be, which apparently the rumors are the reason why it came down earlier is because the FTC wanted to get their say in before the European and the UK councils got theirs in.
Which is fair because they're two American companies. Yeah, I could see that.
So anyway, this is, I mean, it's basically the same argument that
I do think it's a little sad that within the suggestion list of like all the things that you're supposed to do, that it does feel like everyone has forgotten that King exists in this acquisition as well.
I feel like King is just keeping real quiet.
Yeah. It's true.
I mean, they do talk about mobile stuff, but yeah. And friggin' Call of Duty again.
Mm-hmm, always.
It's always about Call of Duty.
Call of Duty, the only game that is any good, apparently.
The only one that exists.
What I also loved the line of, what does it say? Could result substantially reduced competition in gaming consoles to the detriment of gamers, Xbox and PlayStation gamers alike, which result in higher prices, reduced range, lower quality, worse service, and/or reduced innovation. And when I first read that, I was like, I feel like reduced competition between gamers of the consoles. Maybe that wouldn't be so bad.
Right, exactly.
Like if this resulted in Xbox and PlayStation gamers not competing against each other so much, maybe that would be a positive.
But I think it'd be really important that those two systems have crossplay.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, at least for Call of Duty. So I mean, this is all. It's the same deal with them being like, yes, we will make Call of Duty available It'll be the same for 10 years.
Christ.
I
We've been
mean,
talking about this
yeah.
for a
That
while now.
quote
It is
was
fun.
amazing because it was just 2-word sentences. Know this, only this, always this. It's like just real short sentences. Be like, we're fucking sick of talking about this.
And also, I do love to think of just like Microsoft or
Bobby Kotick.
Bobby Kotick being like, also Sony won't even talk to us anymore.
I mean, let's be honest.
They
Like,
won't return our calls.
yeah, it's like I can understand that why they wouldn't
Well,
want
I
to.
mean, can you imagine? He was probably hoping this merger would be done by now.
Yeah,
He'd
he's
be
like, where's
given
my golden
paid-
parachute?
Yeah.
Paid all his money, and then he'd be able to leave and still
Though,
just be an asshole.
makes-
and still not solve any of the problems actually going on at any of those companies.
What makes me laugh about this, though, is that if Sony's like, we're not going to talk to Activision Blizzard, and we have to talk to our lawyers or talk to the lawyers that we've hired to do this on our behalf or whatever, and ultimately Activision Blizzard could turn around at the end of this and be like, Sony was such an asshole by not allowing us to get sold to Microsoft that we're not going to sell any of our games to Sony anymore. And you could have a de facto situation where they're just like we're not going to put any of our stuff on PlayStation. They can go fuck themselves. Like that could happen.
Like I'm just
It might
imagining.
take a while, though.
Just spite.
Well, but I mean, I think I mentioned this before, right? This thing gets canceled. It doesn't go through.
Yeah.
Microsoft turns around and goes, okay, Activision, we will pay you $1 billion for exclusivity on Call of Duty for the next 10 years.
Yep.
Because screw all y'all.
And we'll save money
And
by
that's-
doing it.
And from what end, like, that's totally fine,
Yeah.
right? Like, a thing between two companies saying, like, exclusivity deals happen all the time.
Absolutely.
There's no problem with that. It's not, they don't, at that point, they won't own each other.
But they don't.
so-
They don't control whether or not Activision would say yes to that. I
Yes,
mean,
exactly.
Likely they would.
Likely
but
they would,
also,
but yeah.
You have to. There may be other contracts in place that are for a set length of time that they wouldn't be able to just agree to that idea right away. Which
That's
is
what-
why I'm like,
that's
me
what the $1
saying
billion
like,
is for.
oh, we'll just do it out of spite and make everything exclusive. And like that might take some time to do if they have like a contract
Yeah.
that's still lasting like 5 or 6 years.
I bet it's not 10 years, though. Anyway.
No more 10-year contracts.
Also, the great line of Activision being, we hope that between now and April, we will be able to help the CMA, that's the UK authority, to better understand our industry.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds like so early.
That was a very important. Kathleen moved a word by accident when she was doing the quote. If I remember correctly, she's like, "We hope between now and April we will be better able," is what she said. We will be better able to help the DMC understand our industry. Which is basically, if you say, "I hope I'm better able to tell you how to do this," you're saying, "I hope that I find a way within myself to, that I must be doing a poor job of telling you how our industry works." Whereas what this quote is actually saying is like, "We hope that in a little while that you'll fucking figure it out because you have no idea how our industry works." It's like very like passive aggressive, and it was like something I know. I'm like, shit, did we go back and take that again? I'm like, it'll be fine. It was on screen. People can see what the thing was.
I mean, I want to be like, hey, so Activision, do you know how the industry works?
Yeah, there's that too.
Are you the best one to be teaching them this?
There's lots of conversation I'm noticing in chat about, well, what's going to happen to Bobby Kotick when he makes all this money, or he gets a huge chunk of this and he gets to retire, or they push him out, or they do whatever.
Well-
It's like, that's the thing is like, well, that seems to be what we expect is going to happen, and it's like, yeah, don't feel bad for Bobby Kotick.
You missed the beginning of that conversation. That the hope. Some people hope that the thing goes through because then Bobby Kotick will actually be forced to leave.
Right.
As if that solves anything.
There's that. But there's also this sense of like, when you are making that much money and you're in a piece of the industry where it's like, I go home with $50 million, $100 million a year, whatever, as a CEO, that kind of idea, you're not in it to... You are never going to be a CEO that has like you're not going to have Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk money. Right? If you work for Activision Blizzard, you're never going to have that kind of money. And I think you realize that. I think you know that it's like, I will never be in a position where I'm going to really have really stupid, I could buy a company and run it into the ground money. That kind of idea.
Sure.
This is about power.
Uh-huh.
This is not about money.
Okay.
The guys in that position making that much money are not in it because the money is what the money is and I can go out and I can buy a new boat. They're in it for the power. They have always been in it for the power. They want power over people's lives. They want power over anything they'll be able to, like the power over industry. They'll have influence. They'll have cachet. It's always about power.
Okay.
And I think that's the thing to think of is like everyone's like, well, they're going to get rid of Bobby Kotick, and I'm like, I don't know if they will.
I mean,
I don't know if they'll be part of his thing. Will be like, I get to stay around forever because I want to have control over what it is that I do.
I didn't really want to get into this conversation because I'm fucking tired of this conversation happening in the video game industry of like, oh, well, what happens to Bobby Kotick? Whether or not you think you're like, ah, poor Bobby, or whether you're like, ah,
he'll be fine.
Finally, he'll go away.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the problems that are happening in that company, while he is a good likely majority reason of them happening, when he goes away, those will not stop.
No, they'll just always still be there. And what I'm like is like I think that's important. But I'm also like anybody who's leading a company where they're making a shit ton of money and things haven't been good for a while, or they're not being a responsible leader like they should be. That's because their focus is largely about power. And so not just Bobby, anybody who's at the top of the industry doing that kind of thing, who's making way too much money, this is a power issue. It's kind of always been a power issue.
Now that you've had your say, can we move on from this?
Absolutely.
I don't want to talk about that topic.
We got a raid.
Hey, Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Hello.
Love you. Please tell me we have something better to talk about.
We do. Well, I don't know about better, but
Paul.
We have a different topic.
I mean, this is actually not. I mean, this is just this thing. So the Nintendo Direct happened, which, by all accounts, was a very.
I don't remember us doing a story about the Nintendo Direct.
This is an excellent Nintendo Direct in
Yes.
terms of stuff being released. I mean,
Jesus.
something for everybody.
It was well paced.
But this story was sort of a side story on the Nintendo Direct, which was that somebody sent an email to to their teacher that was meant in jest.
I put this out of my brain.
And was misinterpreted. That there was a bomb threat.
Do not joke about threats.
Or
They
a
weren't-
shooter situation, maybe.
They weren't even joking about a threat.
No.
They're just saying that we should get time off because it's going to be a once in a lifetime event.
Yeah.
And classes should be canceled for the good of humanity, which to me seems like a funny thing to say. But I get why it was not interpreted
Now,
the way it was supposed to be.
the way I did this story, and the way I'm like, hey, let's have a conversation, let's talk about things, and just knock it off. That kind of attitude. This is encouraged, this came out of me, because Heather's on a forum where people spend a lot of time talking about when's the next Direct going to be. They're always kind of like doing little like fun side bets about it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you tell me about the relative kind of like the mania that kicks in, where you also said if there was going to be a Direct this morning, then everyone was going to lose their minds. And if there was not going to be a Direct this morning, everybody was going to lose their minds. And if when they watch the Direct, they're going to bring the site down because everyone has to comment.
Look,
and if there's not going to be a Direct, they're going to...
I wanted to point out, like, yes, I said they're going to lose their minds, but I meant that in, like, a fun way because it was... I literally woke up before 6 a.m. and I was just like, oh, I have to check the forum because there's a bunch of people literally in a forum just counting down to when a potential announcement will happen. And because it's just a little forum, as far as I can tell, they were taking out their own site. Like,
yeah,
This
were
Direct was like
really
in the
cute.
afternoon, though, right?
well, yeah, but they were waiting for the announcement email.
because they knew that it's
Or
like
the
if they're going to make an
announcement tweet.
announcement, they're going to make the announcement at X
and
time.
It's not this particular thread is not about the Direct when it happens. It's about when could it happen and what could they say. And I like being in there.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like, being part of the hype is fantastic, and getting to see other people's reactions. And I mean,
Because now that the Direct has happened, it's really slowed down.
yeah, but of course, when we watched the Direct, when we did the bonus stream of it live, we turned the chat off because we're like, no, we don't need to see the chat. We're here. We're doing our own stream. We have our own chat. We can all be excited with our own with our own little family here, and that's fun. But it was like my attitude of some of you like to be like, wow, they really get pent up about this stuff, and there's lots of discussion. There's lots of people who are like breathlessly typing about how they feel in this moment, or how they feel about whatever, when there is a director, when there isn't a director, how good it is or how bad it was, or whatever they get out of it. There's so much of that kind of thing, and I'm like, it reminds me of being 13 years old and being like so into like, my Nintendo Power showed up, and I'm like, and it's like everything stops and I read my Nintendo Power, and then when I'm done reading it cover to cover, it's like, okay, now I can go on with the rest of my day. Like, it was like, that's how this is to me, that I was really excited. And I'm like, I feel like, I mean, obviously I'm older, so I've mellowed, I've become boring, and I'm like, boy, I
He just
wish
doesn't
that
get fired up
I
about
don't-
stuff anymore.
Never
Yeah,
seem
I
to,
know.
right? It never seems to happen.
It's really hard to have a conversation with him after a direct happens because I'm the one who's all amped and he's just kind of like cool.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everyone got to see my honest reactions during the direct. I just feel like it's like, then this kind of stuff happens where somebody says, I got this really funny thing I'm going to say this whatever, and I'm like, boy, you vague tweeted the hell out of like what was actually going on, because you're like, oh, what if I tell them it's a once in a lifetime event? What if I say for the good of humanity you have to cancel class? Like, it's like, what does this guy know about the thing that's about to happen tomorrow? And it's like, and they admitted later, they said it was me and it was a bad joke, and I'm really sorry about that I got everybody head up about a thing. And it's like, yeah, having a little bit better. You're in university, right? You're in university at this point, and you should start to have a bit better judgment.
Okay, I agree that this seemed like an overreaction by the. I mean, I guess, you know, with stuff going on, you have to be careful about these things. But
I don't.
I have a lot of trouble faulting the like, to me, it seemed silly to me, but. Anyway.
Yeah, I thought there was more written in the email that was why they thought it was a threat. I didn't realize it was just the wording of once in a lifetime opportunity and whatnot, which I do think is funny.
Well, event.
Or
Once in a
event,
lifetime event, and for the good of humanity,
You have to cancel classes.
You have to cancel classes.
And if your professor has no idea what's going on, you're going to be like, what the fuck does that mean?
Sure, and I get that. I don't. If that's all that was written in that email, I don't interpret that as like a person who's overly hyped and they should learn to back off in their 20s.
I'm just saying that this showed kind of remarkably poor judgment, especially for a situation that is kind of always happening in the United States. And it's like, I feel like that bugged me, that I'm like, are we seriously, there's Nintendo fans out there who are so like hype about this thing that they're like, I'm going around asking people to cancel classes and I won't tell them why. And I'm like, I would have felt better about it if it was like, hey, there's this really big event that's happening online and it's being streamed live and your class happens during the thing, and I think for the good of everybody who's out there, they should be able to watch this event, so can you please just cancel class for today? That would be stupid.
But that's also not funny at all.
Yeah, it's not. It's
funny, not a
yeah.
funny joke.
No,
Yeah.
Which is what the thing was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be a funny joke. Yeah.
I just
Anyway.
I don't look at that as poor judgment, especially like if you're in the moment of writing a thing like that. I don't feel like that's necessarily poor judgment. That's poor judgment in hindsight.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you know, coming clean, and yeah, maybe just, you know, doing a little bit of investigation on the part of the school. But anyway, on the plus side, the cops, you know, were, even though they knew it wasn't a thing, I guess for procedural reasons, they still had to like be there on campus.
Yep.
With canine units.
Yeah.
So they got to visit by doggies.
So that's nice too. You know.
I mean, if anything, this person will never write a joke email again, because I like literally out of anything else, I would just be embarrassed that this is the reaction that happens from a joke email.
Yeah.
I would never try to be funny again.
All right.
So, learning opportunities.
Let's talk about. Oh yeah, they're coming up with this. I can't believe this is actually a reason that was put forward for why the fun of, according to Yashinori Kitase, Yashinori Kitase.
I'd have to see it, and I'm.
The Final Fantasy VII remake is so different because Square wanted to give fans the excitement of wondering which parts will be 100% faithful to the original, which is like There's all sorts of reasons why you might want to make a remake different from the original.
Sure.
That's the stupidest reason I've ever heard.
It seems like change for change's sake, right? It's like, we could change this, and we should just change
We're
it.
going to just change everybody's hair color. Why? Because people will be like, "Ooh, this character, will their hair be the same color as they were before?"
Yeah.
I'm so excited to know.
I mean, I think I wonder if it's just worded poorly in English.
It might be like a weird translation
in English, because it kind of, to me, it just sounds like a thing of more, we want to give something like new that could happen for people to be excited about, because then you can't just like read every plot beat.
But the idea,
wording of that does kind of sound like
the idea
we change things for change's sake, but I kind of wonder if that really translates that way.
Yeah, it's true. It could be like a weird translation thing, but the idea of like, will they have totally changed this person's backstory or not? I want to know. Just seems like a very weird rationalization. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about some stories we didn't talk about. Starting with, I guess this is actually, I don't know. Well, I marked this as a story, even though it's very, very little to do with video game stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's just so cool.
Oh,
there's a new, in their new, in Lego's like master collection or whatever, their super fancy collection.
Yeah.
There's a new one coming out for Lord of the Rings.
Right.
And it is, I believe, the most pieces they've done in one of these master collection sets so far.
It's huge. It has a ton of minifigs.
Yeah.
It's huge, and it's Rivendell. Look at
it. Looks really cool. It's
Yeah.
incredibly expensive.
And when you see how like next to here's all the actual minifigs, and see how big this is and how detailed it is. It is kind of amazing. Yeah.
There's like more pieces in the trees than there are in most sets.
Probably if it seems like a lot of the pieces, because it's almost 6,200 pieces. It's like a lot of that seems to be just the roof, because that's a lot of
that's a lot of stuff in the roof.
Yeah,
I do this on Keep Talking, Explode.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, you need a green square. Put the green square in.
Yeah, and you put it in the wrong spot, and it's like, well, I won't find that out until later.
Like
6,167 pieces.
Yep.
Yeah.
And 15 minifigs.
Somebody in chat said that it was, where was it?
It's $500.
It's actually cheaper in terms of like a per brick basis, and I mean, I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
But in the sense of like the amount of money I have to put down all at once if this was a thing that I wanted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is a big decision I'd have to actually make. I don't really want this. I think it looks really cool because I'm not that big of a Lord of the Rings fan, but
I
look forward to the people who are going to build it.
I love the statues.
Yeah.
Which are just more minifigs, but all the same
Great
color.
minifigs.
That means you can make them move.
I'm now curious because everyone every year during the Brick Explode segment on Zeta, everyone in chat tends to talk a lot of shit about what are all these weird pieces
There's the ring
that you're dealing with. There's all these like unusual pieces that don't belong in a Lego set. Why aren't these just normal ass bricks? And I'm like, I can't wait to see somebody say, okay, I went into the Lego vault and I found a whole bunch of stuff, and now I'm gonna make my own Rivendell out of all the pieces that have existed in, like, I'm going to go buy 6,000 pieces or 10,000 pieces or whatever, and I'm going to make my own thing out of, like, multiple other sets or something else to get this. And I'm like, yeah, let's see how far you get without needing any of the pieces that are specific to this set.
The Hobbit figures are shorter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the little
I'm not used to, like, minifigs, like, getting any different lengths.
Smaller legs?
They have no knees.
Ah. Well... Just hairy
because
feet.
the bodies are the same size. I think it's just the legs are short. I think they've done dwarves like that before.
Oh, okay.
Although if that's Gimli, then they actually didn't do that for him. But anyway,
15 minifigs plus the statues.
Yeah, I guess the statues don't count as the minifigs.
Well, okay.
I mean, I would be kind of angry if they did.
Maybe they don't move at all. Maybe.
And then there's the back. There's the whole like This thing's basically like a dollhouse. Like there's a whole like play set
Yeah.
in the back.
That's
Oh,
cool.
it's great.
I like that. That's neat. That
Ooh,
all the attention to detail.
Pointy ears. I wonder if they're like part of the hair.
Is
Probably, eh?
Is Isildur?
I think that might make sense to make it part of the hair.
What is Isildur's Bane? Is that the name of the sword?
I don't know.
Are they forging that sword again here? Is that what that's for? I don't know. Where's the place where Arwen is like laying down in the movie? The weird kind of like I am laying on this weird couch. That's just Bilbo's little right because he had to leave because he couldn't stay in the Hobbit hole anymore. It was not good for him.
He learned about adventure.
It was Narsil when it was broken. Okay. Just keep saying random things with ill on the end. I'm sure they will all.
Apparently 670 Canadian. It's 500 American.
Yeah, before tax. Yeah, it's like, again, very, very big chunk of money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I can buy a PS5 for cheaper than that.
Yeah, actually, I think you might be right.
There's a One Ring, although it feels like the ring is maybe a little big, but there it is.
Well, I mean, when you don't have fingers, you really do need a bracelet.
It's like
at
a
that
one,
point.
the one bracelet.
It does change size.
That's true.
Yeah.
It reminds me. There's a in the Green Lantern Corps.
Mm-hmm.
There's Nort, who's a dog alien.
Oh yeah.
And he has paws, and so his Green Lantern ring is just like a band that fits around his arm.
Oh, okay.
His hand.
That's cool.
Why is tax not included? Well, because where we live, they wouldn't include tax for the U.S. either. I mean, I'm guessing Europe maybe does put their taxes in, but across Canada,
this is VAT
we
included.
actually have
Diff-
different taxes depending on your province.
Yeah.
Ours is like what, 12 cumulative?
Our HST is
Because
I'm
it's
not
like
sure, yeah.
5 GST and 7
PST.
PST?
Yeah, we're back on HST again, right?
Are we?
I can't remember.
I thought we came
thought-
back off of
yeah.
HST.
The Maricat, it is a point. There's a point that it's like, remember when Lego stuff. This is a specific. The Masters Lego set is a specific thing. Lego makes all sorts of different types of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of the
that's
stuff is
true.
for kids as well.
Yes.
But they do also do adult sort of versions of Lego now too.
I do
Just
want to
like-
see somebody grab some like just kind of like kids set, like the giant thing of blocks you can buy for like $150 or whatever it is. You can buy like there's so many things in here. You can just the huge tubs and just be like, I'm gonna make my own, and it's gonna be all day glow colors because it's all just it's like and
Well, you
this
showed
tree
me,
has like yeah.
You showed me that picture, the that Lego set. That's the like, was it like a Pride Rainbow thing
Oh,
with a bunch
yeah.
of minifigs on it? It's a really nice looking little set. And
Yes, it's a good
You
picture.
showed me a picture that someone who was colorblind had done it, and so there's like a good section where some of
yeah.
the colors like mismatch.
What's great about that too is the person who did it was like, I assumed it was somebody who's identifying as male or is male because males tend to have color blindness more than
Oh, really?
tends to.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I was gonna say this dude, but I'm like this person. They're like, the great thing is that I was able to assemble this with no trouble despite being colorblind, and then they have the picture of it. And I was like,
Oh no, I love
"You're right.
it.
You got it."
Got it perfect.
As far as I was
First time.
concerned, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I liked this following thing where it was like the new colorblind pride flag was like had little
Yeah.
blocks moved around in it. I was like, that was really good. It's very cute.
I mean, it would be kind of fun to see I feel like that would be a good thing to do for like, I'm sure there's very talented, like, I don't know, YouTube Lego maker community
Yeah.
to do like sort of a kit bash version of these master sets.
Yeah.
Like putting together, making something that is like
A visual
the
alike.
similar feel,
Yeah.
but with like super basic
that might
pieces.
be.
I'd
That'd be
like
kind
to
of a
see
fun
that.
Most
idea.
of the Lego stuff I've seen on YouTube has been more related to making machines out of Lego and stuff,
That's really cool.
which I feel like is its own kind of niche.
Yeah. But the kit bash thing, I think it'd be fun. Use your childhood
yeah.
Lego to make the newer sets.
Just never thought to look at that.
Talking about different, we were talking about some skins and stuff for Overwatch. There's Fortnite is got good old Witcher himself, Geralt, is going to be coming into Fortnite.
Out of the hot tub and into the Fortnite.
I guess he was one of the people who like wasn't in Fortnite already. One of the few.
I mean, that is kind of the thing that happens, right? When someone says, "Oh, this person is in Fortnite," especially when we don't really play Fortnite.
Yeah.
Except for the couple of times that CTS has had it. I think we are all just kind of like, oh, I think I just thought they were in there already. But thank you for the announcement, so I know for sure.
Yeah, like any other big video game franchise, I assume that they're in there.
Yeah, kind of. You could basically tell me anyone's in there except for like a Nintendo character, and because at that point I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of weird because I guess his pickaxe is the sword, but it's sort of weird because, you know, everyone else has like guns. Presumably he can do shooting as well.
Yeah, I guess if he wants to,
Maybe. I mean, I don't really.
he could make basic shapes. That's kind of cool.
So if he has two swords on his back, can he have two swords in the game?
Well, he wouldn't take the other one out unless he's killing a witch.
Yeah, one's for people and one's for monsters. I don't think he dual wields.
Yeah.
Unless he's like fighting a monster with one hand and a person with the other hand.
I've
So,
never seen
wait,
this series. I
there's-
just happen to know this.
There's one sword. So you're saying the monster sword, if he pulled it out and tried to kill a person with it, it wouldn't work?
No, it would still hurt.
He's got one silver sword and a steel sword.
Okay, but
The
why?
idea is that the silver sword is really I don't know. There's various ideas that people put around. Basically, it's silver is a lot softer than steel.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to just use it all the time.
Because
Otherwise,
it's also really expensive.
you're constantly sharpening and having to redo your sword. So you
Right.
keep it only for the monsters.
I suppose. I just don't really.
How it implements itself in the game is it does less damage against people. I don't know.
That just seems
It's a weird thing.
like you sounds like you just need one sword.
Yep.
Still.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing as like a stake to the heart works on vampires, but also most other things
Yeah.
also die from a stake to the heart.
If the silver is the thing that ultimately kills the monster, right? Like it's like you can shoot a werewolf with a silver bullet. That's a very tiny little bit of silver, right? So he has an entire silver sword. If it's made out of 100%, you know, like how many ever troy ounces of silver? That thing's real fucking heavy for one
Okay,
thing.
all right.
But it's like he
So-
could just make a steel sword and then have it coated in silver, and it should have the same effect. You would assume.
Yes,
even just the edge.
But if your whole like thing is going to be that the silver sword needs more sharpening and degrades or whatnot, does that mean that this game has sharpening? Like you constantly have to resharpen your tools, or there's weapon degradation?
I don't
know.
know.
Well, I haven't actually played the.
Betrayal at Krondor has weapon degradation.
I haven't played the
You get to sharpen your own
the
sword.
Witcher games. Oh, I know that that's a thing, and it's a meme to make fun of it.
I mean, as far as I was concerned, Witcher's like up there with Skyrim.
Yeah, I mean that's
Not in the sense that it's on everything so much as it seems to be one of those games almost everyone seems to have played.
I'm having a great time.
he's just doing some object work.
Yeah. Everything has weight until I forget that it's there.
Yeah, you're supposed to put it away when you're
Supposed
gonna
to-
when you're
supposed to
gonna
put
be
my-
when you're gonna be done
bow,
with it.
Bow away.
Let it have weight all the way through.
You know what doesn't have weight when you put it into a Pokeball?
Hmm.
A Pokemon?
A Pokemon.
Oh, right. Yes, that's a good point.
And if you have a Frou-Frou or Furfrou,
Yes.
which is a Pokemon,
It's a poodle.
It's a poodle.
It's just a poodle.
and so there's a bunch of different types of Furfrous with different.
So it's the same
Outfits.
Pokemon.
Yeah, they're just different.
But
different.
in the game that it came out in, you could take it to like a hairdresser essentially and give it different like a different cut.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
yeah.
it looked different.
Neat.
And there were like 8 of them. I don't remember, but that means that if you're one of those people who are like, I have to collect every single version of a thing.
Yeah.
You would need every haircut style, but then you would also need the shiny version of every haircut style.
Okay.
And so the shiny version of Heart Trim Furfrou is now available as a Valentine's Day exclusive in Pokemon Go.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it is also now able to be transferred into Pokemon Home. So previously, it wasn't. You could get one,
Right.
but it couldn't be transferred anywhere.
Yeah.
I guess because it wasn't available in other games or
Well,
something.
if-
So I don't know quite why you couldn't put it into Pokemon Home. But
Because it's the game it came out in. I guess to get it into Pokemon Home from the game it came out in, you would have had to have traded it up to a different game. But it's possible that the games you would have needed to have traded up to wouldn't have had like a national dex. And so you wouldn't have been able to connect to Pokemon Home is probably where that disconnect ends up happening.
so and Furfrou is not actually in. Furfrou is from X and Y apparently, and is not available in either of the Switch ones.
Ah.
Yeah.
And so you can put them into Pokemon Home, but you can't actually put them anywhere else because none of the other games, the Switch games,
Yeah.
are the ones that connect to Pokemon Home. So it's a little weird in the sense that you put it into Pokemon and then. But anyway,
Yes, I agree.
Wouldn't it be easier if
I
they
don't
remade
understand how the
first-gen
system.
games?
I don't
They
understand how
did.
the system works.
Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu are the first-gen games remade for the Switch. Frufo, though, is from X and Y, which has not been
It's on the DS.
made for the Switch yet, I believe, because we were on
Or 3DS.
Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah, Shining.
That's the last one.
Diamond and
So
Pearl is the last remake.
The next remake they do, if they're going in order, should be Black and White.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it should be this complicated.
No.
Oh, it never should be. but if anything's going to be complicated about how to do anything, it's always going to be Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because there have been like 3 or at least 2 or 3 different like Pokemon storage systems too over the years, right?
Pokemon Bank was a thing, but you also needed like another thing in order to like a Pokemon transport thing or something that acted like a go-between between the DS and the.
And then there was and then that became
Games.
Pokemon Home.
You were supposed to be
And then
able
things-
to. I thought you were supposed to be able to move Pokemon Bank Pokemon to Pokemon Home directly from there.
Yeah, that was the idea when they launched it. Because they're like, we want people to get
did-
their stuff out of the bank.
Did X and Y not let you have it in the thing?
There's so well.
Just
The thing is like they
don't pay this much attention to Pokemon, even though
what
I know
remember
these things.
in the launch of Home is they said the idea is that the chain is now complete. That was the idea, is that it's like you should be able to get stuff from a Game Boy game, from red, green, blue, yellow, like whatever. You should be able to get everything out of the Game Boy and move, and you might have to move it multiple times through multiple systems, but you should be able to get that thing all the way into
Yeah, I
Pokemon
know there's
Home.
like charts of like.
But
what
it's
you
like
need to
why?
do.
But why do you have to move it? Why can't you, anyway?
Because you caught it. It's your little baby.
No. But why can't you just move it to Pokemon Home? Why do you have to go through the other?
Well, because if you have Pokemon Red on a Game Boy, there's no way to connect it to the internet. Yeah, so
Anyway.
it has to
Yeah,
kind of go
it's
through the
just-
chain.
It's basically just like really old systems that never got integrated into newer systems because the time has been so far.
What I like about Pokemon when we're talking about this kind of stuff,
Yes.
is that in the
Big
world
flexibility.
within the mythology of Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
this is also a thing, right? Like in the world of Pokemon, you have like a Pokemon sharing database,
Yeah.
and you have like Pokemon things that you send around and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's like a real thing in the game, and then it also is in real life. But the one in real life doesn't work as well as the one in the game, of course.
Yeah, I know Pokemon Go generally has a lot of weird things because it's. I don't even know. I stopped.
It's like a
playing.
whole separate
But
system.
because it's separate. It's like there's just like points in time where they try to add generations, but then there's always like kind of a weird Pokemon that they're like, okay, we've added all of this generation of Pokemon except for this one because it's got like a paintbrush on its tail. I think it was Smeagol.
And like we
Squirtle,
don't know how to
whatever.
animate it properly.
And, we're not quite sure what to do with it, and then it turns out that it's like, oh no, what we did was we added like a photo mode or we did whatever, and sometimes he shows up in there, and that's how like there's just like a special way to catch him.
Oh, weird.
And stuff
Can
like
you-
that, and then you got your weird region locks in that game too, and
And
like literally region locking by being like geogating.
Exactly,
I guess
yeah,
is
yeah.
more the term, but
If you catch a Pokemon in Pokemon Go, can you then transfer it into the real game?
some of the games you have been able to, because I think it was Let's Go games. I know I transferred a bunch of the shiny Eevees I caught in a Pokemon Go event.
It's the only way to get a
but you
Melton.
can't
Wow.
you can't transfer over, at least at the I don't know if maybe you can transfer these to home, but I don't think you can. You can't transfer over the special Pokemon you get events that have like hats and eyewear and fun things like that, because
Yeah.
the code doesn't exist in
Right.
those games and they don't update them for that. So
A Pokemon with a hat?
I have
Such a
so
thing
many
cannot
hat
exist.
Pikachus that I cannot move over.
There was a question that came up.
Nobody has ever come up with something so ridiculous.
There's a question that came up in chat about, so a Pokeball weighs the same empty as it does when it has a Pokemon in it. How does that make sense? Where does the Pokemon go? And I'm like,
Pokemons can be
It becomes
digitized.
yeah.
Data.
So what happens is they get converted into energy. When you take all of the mass of the Pokemon,
It's very important not to think about it too hard.
They convert into energy, and if you've ever weighed electricity, you'll notice that electricity doesn't weigh anything. Like if it doesn't anything. There's no weight to an electron,
right.
and so all of those electrons just like kind of live in the thing, and then when you zap it out again, all that energy just reforms into the mass of it. That's
forgot,
how it works. Is that mass equals energy? Just mass equals energy.
Also, some Pokemon are just energy.
Yes,
Because that's weird.
Yeah, I forgot they made a Pokemon that was just for Pokemon Go called Melton. There's like an evolution of that. I think you have to catch a bunch of. Does
Like-
that one evolve with? Yeah, it probably evolves with candy. So but it's like a lot of candy.
You were going to
But-
get so many comments from what
Like-
I just said.
Like in Scarlet and Violet, it says explicitly at the beginning that like your little Pokemon, your Pokedex is powered by a little There's like a little
Rotom.
Yeah, there's a little Pokemon in there powering it.
Yeah,
Which
Rotom is weird.
seems
Rotom
weird.
also powers like a stove and fridges and a bunch of other things all of a sudden. It's like they discovered this Pokemon one day and they were like, oh shit, electricity. I don't or batteries, I guess, really. more than-
Batteries, yeah.
I'm just
that.
imagining
It's
basically
weird.
like Pikachu on like a little wheel.
Okay, so
on like a hamster wheel.
In what is it? In the first generation of the Pokemon anime, when they go visit the power plant, because there's a power plant in the game, the power plant is definitely being charged up by like a bunch of Voltorbs and Electrobes and
Right,
stuff.
right.
The further you get into the anime, the more everything is powered by Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more
They-
other animals that were kind of normal start to
The
disappear.
the Pokemon universe is very it's very important for you to not think too hard about anything that is in the Pokemon universe,
No.
or else it will all collapse into itself.
How does the Caterpie get to be that big, but still just subsist on grass?
That is not one of the questions that has occurred to me.
How do they go through a metamorphic process to become Metapod? If
I mean, I don't really know what Pokemon eat, because every time they've ever shown anyone like a Pokemon breeder feeding Pokemon, they just look like they're feeding them dog food. And they act like they've done like something special to it, because every Pokemon has like some sort of nutritional thing they gotta think about. But none of the trainers ever seem to think about anything, and I don't know if any of them actually feed their Pokemon.
yeah, the answer is electrons have no mass.
Okay. We could be here all day, Paul, if you keep letting us.
Yeah. The Pokemon world largely works on the don't ask so many silly questions
Yeah.
system.
Look,
If
Soul
you
Silver and Heart Gold was the best because it came with a Pokewalker.
if you start asking questions, it might all stop working, and then we'll all be in trouble. So
And how
don't ask
dare
questions.
you make a bunch of 3DS Pokemon games that don't make use of the walking functionality of the 3DS?
Yes.
That is cool.
Yeah.
All right. I think that is all of the stuff that we had to talk about.
All right. Did
And-
you end up watching the Nintendo Direct, Paul?
Right, because that is the thing that is really the the thing.
I did not.
Oh, okay.
What was there? I like Kathleen was saying that she got the like consolidated Nintendo Direct from
I know
Heather.
Kathleen,
wanted,
so
yeah.
I was just like, oh, you'll want to know about Layton.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah, new Professor Layton does actually sound pretty good.
Yeah,
I haven't played any of the Phoenix Wright games, but I have played
So
the Professor
if you've
Layton.
played a Professor Layton game, there's also a Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton game that I think is great.
Can you count? I don't care if you do it out loud, but can you count all the things that came up in that direct? Because that was 40 minutes long. What did we get?
Do you want me to involve DLC
Yes.
and stuff? All right.
All the announcements, essentially. Because I think that's the important thing, is to kind of go over, you know, we could mention everything in a list, and it could take us like a minute or two to mention everything. But
I've got about 35 items written down. Some
in
of those
40
things
minutes
are condensed because it's like the Nintendo Switch Online, Game Boy Advance stuff, and then like DLC and like Etrian Odyssey is like actually 3 games in
But
one,
it's
that kind of thing.
remarkable density, especially for the fact that Pikmin 4 on the top and Tears of the
Pikmin
Kingdom
4
on the
looks so
end
good.
were like multi-minute reveals.
I remember like back in the days of E3 when everyone was actually presenting at E3.
Yeah.
And there was always the like, who won E3 thing.
Yeah.
And you know, Nintendo would almost always be just like, you know, everyone would be talking about stuff. Da 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 da. Nintendo would just come in with like a half-hour show and just be like, bam, 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 bam,
Yeah.
done. Everyone would be like, whoa.
Yeah, that was a lot. Oh my god. Oh my god.
They're good at that.
That tends to be the thing that, because
It's like all those franchises you liked. Yeah, we're making new ones of all of those.
yeah, you like those, so applaud.
Mic drop.
Thank you. I want to talk about details in there, but I also want to just say in the larger thing with the directs is that we have seen in over the years that they have kind of done an in and out of how you kind of see a direct go. Indie worlds are kind of what I think is bad for this, is where an indie world presentation will generally be, here is the minute and a half long trailer, and then here is essentially like a trailer again. It is more gameplay and stuff, while the hosts talk over the gameplay to reiterate either most of what you just saw or to sometimes at least explain what's going on in the game.
Yeah.
And the parts where they're explaining, it's like, this is the point of the game, this is the thing that you're doing. I like those things. The things where it's like, we're going to kind of reiterate some of the stuff you've already heard in the trailer, it's like, doesn't really help.
I
like that they're kind of getting shorter.
I think the indie directs are. I like the way though that they highlight the devs themselves. Usually, like you get to see a small segment
That's
of the devs.
awesome. I want them to keep
even
doing
if,
that.
Even if the devs, I think, maybe end up flubbing it.
Yeah.
I still prefer to see them.
I love
It
knowing
is-
where they're
Like,
from.
I like to get to see that. I like seeing a trailer, and some of those trailers don't really depict anything outside of what you would see in an excitement way. So I kind of like it when they go over it again. Not always,
Yeah.
especially if it's not a game I'm interested in, but it is nice to be like, because this is. It's not like they can be like, hey, unless there's Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
There's no brand recognition going on.
Yeah, I don't know
there.
what Spiritfarer is, right? But the Spiritfarer reveal was great, because even the second part of it was like, I like seeing more of
Yeah.
this and you talking more about what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think when the indie developers are doing it themselves, it can be often a little less polished. But that's it can be endearing in a certain way.
And now on the other hand, this direct, like I said, remarkable density. 35 things mentioned in a 40-minute in a 40-minute presentation, and highlights. Is that we want to just
I
mention?
mean, I was
things
just
we're
going to
like-
do highlights because we streamed this.
Yeah.
So, you
Is
know.
this one that we did? Are you actually able to put this up on YouTube?
I think I should be able to. I just set stuff to upload, so I won't know if the back end of YouTube will reject it until later. But
Just add scan lines through the screen. So they
Well,
can't
it's
detect it.
sometimes, especially the music in
It's
these kind of things.
usually music.
Get us
Yeah,
caught.
that's fair.
But in the past, when we've done like E3 watches and whatnot, Nintendo's not usually been one that's actually caused me problems. It's usually the gaming PC show because they use a lot of licensed music in some of their reveals.
Nintendo's the only one that could actually use the Wii Shop music in the background. No fair.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, what are some? I mean, Pikmin 4 is the
Pikmin
first
4
thing and is a highlight.
Was definitely a highlight. Like you and I just recently finished Pikmin 3, which I think
Co-op.
which is part of the reason why I was just like, oh, Pikmin 4, I can't wait. And then they showed off like a little dog that you can ride around on.
What?
And yeah, it's super cute, Paul. I think you would like. I don't know if you like Pikmin or not, but I think this would be kind of your jam, at least aesthetically.
I mean, you kind of had me at you can ride around in a little dog.
There's like this little dog and he can swim
And do wayfinding.
and stuff, and so like, and the other Pikmin like will hang on to him, and it's just
it real good.
yeah. Like at this point, there's been so many dog type characters that when they release Nintendogs, I hope they have like
bonus characters
that are kind of like this.
Yeah,
I mean, you even said it'd be great if they did the Switch controller dog.
Yes, I want them to. I just don't know if they will because it's
Yeah.
a fan creation.
Yeah.
But I would love it if they did.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pikmin 4. If you liked Castlevania, Dead Cells has a Return to Castlevania DLC that's coming out. That
right.
Ood and Odd at.
I was really like, oh shit, am I gonna play Dead Cells? I don't know. We'll see.
That's coming out next month.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Ghost Trick Phantom Detective is getting a remake. Apparently, I think they've. When the sheet came out, it said that it was getting a physical copy, and they've updated that to have taken that off because that was a mistake. So it's probably digital only.
Do you know why you want to play this? Is because Sho Takumi is the writer? Director.
Yes. Writer.
Same person who wrote Ace Attorney.
Yes.
So that's why you want to play this, is because the story is going to be ridiculous.
It's cute.
It is really
It's
good.
really cute. If you've not played Ghost Trick and you like time-solving puzzle things, not like you have to go back in time and have a like. I think they have kind of a deadline clock, but it's like setting up perpetual motion machines and stuff.
It's fun. Yeah.
Cool.
Rube Goldberg machine specifically.
Yeah, that.
Anyway.
So you probably actually like that as well. Then there's like the Nintendo Switch Online thing. They're adding Game Boy and Game Boy Color to the base section, and they're adding Game Boy Advance games to the expansion
pack.
plus whatever.
Oh, neat.
The more expensive tier.
Yeah.
That had a lot of excitement to it because some of the games they showed off were like Minish Cap, which definitely is just out right now.
Yeah.
It's one of the launch games.
Mario Kart.
Wario Land 3, Mario Kart.
That's for the Game Boy Advanced
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
The
Minish Cap is a great.
It is a fantastic game.
It's a great game.
Good launch title for this.
The games they said that were coming later that they showed things for were like the Oracle of Ages and Seasons games for Zelda, but also Golden Sun.
For DS, yeah.
No, the DS Golden
No,
Sun
sorry.
is not.
Sorry, no.
No,
For
we
GBA.
all hate
For Game
that
Boy
one.
Advance. For Game Boy Advance. Actually, I guess an interesting thing about that, which didn't get noticed, is Kirby Tilt and Tumble. Now,
Was that in there?
yes. So now think about what that means.
That's gyro.
Yes. Which means that they found a way to make the extended control options work with through that. They're finding a way to translate gyro motion in your Joy-Cons into interpreting that for the Game Boy.
Cool. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like when the Tilt and Tumble came out, it had the special thing on the cart to do the Tilt and Tumble. And it's kind of cool. And it's like now it's like, oh right, that's actually not. It's not that. It's like, oh, it's just built in. That's not actually that hard to do anymore.
No, but there's that sense of people are like, how would you ever port anything that requires a specialized controller or specialized stuff that's built into the thing? And it's like, because you can abstract that to things that are supported on the control devices. It's like, I think there might have been a sense like, would you ever do that because of the additional thing? It's like, why wouldn't they do that if they wanted to?
The GBA stuff is not going to be included in the. It's not in the base. It's the Game Boy Color is being included in the base. GBA is going to be in the.
It's kind of
expansion
cool.
pack,
They have the different filters that let you do the old Game Boy Green, the black and white from the pocket, and then like the color.
Yeah.
And I dig that because I'm like, the green aesthetic is very nostalgic. It is garbage for me to see anything.
Yeah, turns out, original Game Boy was actually not kind of hard to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got the I now have the base level like Nintendo Online thing. So I'm like, ooh,
okay, yeah,
cool.
you should.
I'm like, oh, cool. It's like 'cause it's like $25 a year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And then it's like, but I don't. I'm not willing to pay like $60 a year to get Nintendo 64 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
But are you willing to pay that to get Game Boy Advance games? If you've never played Minish
no.
Cap, right? Like it's like, so now are
I-
you willing to pay that much to get all of those things?
Yeah,
And it's like
it's one of those things where it's like, as it started out,
They sweeten it.
if you're as a subscription service, if you're just looking at the game portion, the value may or may not be there for you, but as they add things over time,
Yeah.
it might be worth at least checking out for a month or two.
yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I played a lot of those games on emulator already.
yeah.
But
There you go.
in fact, I streamed Minish Cap. It was
Nice.
great.
Yeah, no need to play it again then.
Yeah, for me personally, I have Master Detective Archives Rain Code, but that's because you can clearly tell the Danganronpa design team
that's-
is on that, and it's a detective
Right.
style game.
Yeah, it's by Spike Chunsoft.
Does that mean
So-
everyone will die?
I don't think so in this one. It does not. It doesn't look like a classroom kill your classmates kind of genre.
Yeah, you seem removed from the process. You're the detective, and you have a Shinigami. You have this ghost character that's following you around, who is like alternately a ghost-looking thing, like a Gengar-looking thing, but then also sometimes is like a cute
It
girl-looking
definitely
thing.
transforms into a cute girl in some
Yeah.
sort of maid-like outfit.
Yeah, very anime EGL type thing. Yeah.
A ghost that turns into a cute girl in a maid outfit, you say? How innovative.
They showed in the sizzle reel Blanc, which comes out on the 14th, which is a Blanc, like the French for white.
Yeah.
It's a black and white
Oh.
game with like what looks like a deer and I think it's a fox or a little dog or
A
something.
little wolf thing, maybe.
that
Yeah.
looks like a two-player
Oh.
adventure. You honestly probably
I think
like the look of
I
that
think
too.
they may have. I think that may have shown up on the PC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
show.
yeah. This
Yeah.
isn't like
This
that's
is-
not like Nintendo exclusive as far as I know.
I think
but
that was one
it
of those
looks
ones
super
where it was
cute.
like, "This looks amazing and super cute. It's gonna
Oh
be
yeah,
sad.
it's gonna be sad. You can tell.
something bad is
Yeah.
gonna happen."
Yeah, there's no way nothing bad happens.
What has happened to us that's where we're at now these days?
Have you seen the state of indie games? The
Yeah.
really good ones are sad.
It's gonna be like this is all a metaphor for cancer or something bad.
Mhm, yeah, exactly.
Let me tell you, if you play an indie game that's not great, that's about cancer, it's just a slog.
Yeah.
And then I had Zelda, but like they had some. Oh yeah, Samba de Amigo, which is only very hyped because of Rhythm Cafe. But you know
Not a
they
remake, a
also
brand
had
new Some Amigo.
they also
Right. That was
like
previously only available on the Dreamcast, right?
Yeah, Samba de Amigo. Oh no, they did one on the Wii. They ported it to the
I
Wii,
think
didn't they?
they did one on the Wii.
Yeah, they ported the original Dreamcast one to the Wii, and this is a brand new game.
Cool.
Yeah,
They shadow dropped the remaster of Metroid Prime
Yeah,
Right.
Jesus.
one like that day, and then the physical copy's coming out in a couple of weeks. Like that's just
I'm curious. It'd be-
ridiculously
Guess I'm buying a
short
third
and
copy of
thing.
Metroid Prime.
I wonder if they're if they. I know one of the things with Metroid Prime that everyone liked it or people really liked it, but the control kind of
So
turned people off.
there are, if we can talk about that for
Yeah.
like a minute, there will be multiple control options.
Right.
So you'll have your twin stick option
Right. I guess they already remastered it on
for Wii.
right?
So
So,
you
they
have-
already did the
Yeah, they're giving you a twin stick option to play, which I think is going to be more like playing modern FPSs that are twin stick.
Right.
Which means that, and then you'll use your finger, you'll use triggers to shoot, which is not a way that they used to. They used to do it with the EA button, right, kind of thing. So it's like twin stick with trigger to shoot, which means that I think the button cluster will be used to select your visors. No, your weapons. Your visors are on the D-pad. The Wii control model, the motion control model, new play control, where you will be able to use the gyros to actually aim on the screen and do whatever like that way. The classic control of the GameCube style, where everything is linked to buttons and stuff like that, and then the sticks will be the thing. I think that the right stick will be the thing that you'll use to select your.
I wonder if you
your,
can.
your things.
I wonder if that means that it'll work with the GameCube controllers that they were selling for Smash.
I would. Assume
I would hope so. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be amazing. Christ, that'd be almost how I'd want to play it. And then a hybrid version that meshes two things together, and I'm not sure. I was watching Modern Vintage Gamer, and he talked about the hybrid version. I can't remember what the two things were they mashed together to make it work, but it's kind of like the twin sticks is, I think, the default thing that they start you with.
Is this a full like remake or not remake, but like are they redoing all the graphics and everything, or is this
Yes.
just like an upsample? Or
No, they've remastered the graphics to the point where it's like we've changed the look in a lot of, like, we keep the geometry of all the levels the same, but we have changed a lot of the look of like, you know, trees growing out of the ground or other like consoles and stuff like that. The some of the tanks and stuff. It's like there have been a lot of, not everything, but there's if it did not get a complete redraw into a new looking thing, at least it got a brand new texture to kind of bring it into the new world.
It's not just a higher res version of what was there before.
Yeah, and so
Nice.
there's been some argument about how the doors don't look right because apparently the what was it, the specular highlights, or there's something about how, if Retro is the one who did the remaster, it sounds like they did, the doors aren't the gray with the kind of illuminated hex around them that lets you know there's a door there. Now they are all lit up, and the idea being that it's like, because people are like, oh, I don't like the fact that it's not that kind of like, you know, metal technology looking thing, that they actually kind of look like they have light overlaying on top of them, like that's just like a big teal looking thing, and the argument being, it's like, yeah, because if you play it in handheld mode, it's going to be 610p or something like that.
It'd be hard to actually see them.
And it's hard to make out the doors clearly, so we do it this way instead. And I'm like, that actually makes a lot of sense. And there's,
Cool.
yeah, a lot more of the other things though that are weird. Well, I thought this is weird in the GameCube version. If you charge your cannon and you wave it around at a wall, you illuminate the wall. It's a light source. If you charge your cannon in the new one, it is not a light source. You can wave it past a wall, and the wall just stays dark. And I'm like, that sucks for immersion.
Weird.
But maybe it's a thing they patch later. I don't know. Can I borrow the thing?
Yeah, there's another page on the other side.
Yeah. Tron Identity was an interesting thing that came up that I was like, that's odd. I didn't expect a new Tron game, especially when it's a visual novel. It's a puzzle visual novel.
Oh.
So it's puzzles, or rather puzzles and visual novel. Disney Illusion Island was a cool thing, but I think we'd heard about it before.
I really dug the Tron video game that came out. I actually played it on
Yeah, I remember that.
on things on my stream back in the day.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. It came out before Tron Legacy, like the new movie. And it was explicitly a sequel to, like, it actually was in canon sequel to the thing. It was neat because it was actually like, oh right, that having telling the story of Tron in the context of a video game actually makes a lot of sense. And everything, and you had stuff where like different levels, depending on what kind of a machine you were loading yourself into, you had different memory requirements. So it's like at one point you load yourself into like a PDA, and so you can't take all your weapons with you. You have to like choose which weapons you can take with you.
That's
otherwise
a cool idea.
it'll run out of RAM. Just kind of
wild.
fun idea.
You enjoy Kirby.
I do.
They're doing a remake of Kirby's Return to Dreamland,
Which is
Deluxe
for the Wii.
For the Switch. It's coming out at the end of this month.
When did Kirby leave Dreamland?
I know, right?
I don't know, but he got a return.
And it's 4 players simultaneous.
They announced the
Interesting.
Yeah.
they announced that there was an epilogue section for Magalore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Magalore.
Which looks super cool.
Where he's just like, all of his powers have been taken away, and so you go around and you need to like collect things and then upgrade his abilities so he can wizard things and stuff. The point of this game is like he crash lands into Dreamland, and you're helping him repair his magical boat thing. And the reason I know that so well is there's a demo I downloaded that lets you play stage 1-1 and 1-2, and then the boss fight, which of course is Wispy Woods, and a couple of the mini games.
That friggin' tree.
There's a mini game section with like a bunch of.
I think they put 8 in the actual full game. I think it's 8 mini games overall. Maybe it's not.
In the minigame carnival section?
Yeah.
There's 100 minigames in that section.
Sorry, what? Holy shit.
As far as the advertisement told
Wow,
me.
I didn't realize that. Okay, I wasn't paying attention. They put
Yeah,
8, no,
which,
100.
which a lot of them are 4-player games as well. Like the ones that I played that they had in there was like a Ninja Star thing where you have to throw Ninja Stars at moving targets, and then also it's like a top-down thing where everyone's got a gun and they got to shoot the other person, but you got to go like pick up
Wandering around a maze.
ammo, and then if you can get the really big sparkly gun, you can make a giant shot, just take over the entire screen.
So
Cool.
this is essentially it's obviously it's a side-scrolling Kirby game that's 4 players simultaneous, like New Super Mario Brothers is, where you have 4 people all on the same screen doing the same thing. But also, it is a candidate for CTS.
I think so.
Yeah.
Can you eat each other?
No, but you can hug each other.
That's not as fun as
No, you're right.
because if Kirby eats another Kirby, does he just get more Kirby powers? He just becomes more Kirby.
Yeah,
I don't know what happens when a black hole swallows another black hole. You know, what happens if you put what is it again? If you put a
bag
portable
of-
hole in a bag of holding?
A bag of holding and
I
a portable
think
hole.
That's it, yeah.
I think there are a couple of Kirby powers that got added to this game from the previous version.
Oh, neat.
I know after I defeated Wispy Woods, it was like, oh, you can now play like a harder version of this boss fight, which then is definitely a harder version of that fight because I went in to do it and I accidentally cheesed it because I grabbed this firepower and I ended up just going up so high on the screen that nothing that it did could attack me, and I was just constantly up there. So that was fun. But I'm saying it has a demo if you want to download it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And check it out.
The Etrian Odyssey remake was interesting, though I don't think I'm going to play it. But just because it was like, we're remaking Etrian Odyssey 1, 2, and 3, giving it an HD whatever, also giving you a bunch of quality of life stuff to improve mapping. Like, they really went hard on...
Are you familiar with the Etrian Odyssey?
They're like
series?
dungeon crawler things.
I think
You
we may have done
you
it
have
on.
to map them out.
We may have done it on Unskippable or something.
Yeah.
Because the name sounds vaguely familiar,
Yeah.
but I haven't played them.
Yeah, the whole point of the game is that you're going through a dungeon, but you have to map out the dungeon yourself. Like, and they were on the DS and the 3DS, so you like had to use
You
the
actually draw
stylus to kind of draw in what this map looks like, and then like essentially make notes of like where treasure chests and stuff are.
And if you don't draw a map, then you don't
And
ever have a map.
like for them to come over to the Switch and show off that it's like, oh, we bring up this map that'll like cover half the screen so you can have it while you're walking through still, and
because we know how important that is. And then also the fact that it's like, we are adding auto mapping. If you want it, you can turn on auto mapping. It doesn't mean that I think that every little bit is auto mapped, because it looks like you can also still edit things and add things to your map as you want to.
Maybe,
but,
I'm not really sure.
But I thought that was an interesting mix of it. It's like, you can try it this way or you can try it this other way if the mapping thing seems daunting to you, or maybe you're not as...
They added a remaster of a
Yeah,
game
it's
Beach tried
interesting.
to play during Beach's backlog and hated. Batten Kaitos 1 and 2.
Yep.
So, yay?
Yeah, I guess. Well, it's Batten Kaitos 1 and 2, but it's Batten Kaitos and Batten Kaitos Origins.
Yeah.
Which is
Origins is like a
prequel.
prequel, I think.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know if Batten Kaitos 2 was ever a game, or if they actually just mean Batten Kaitos Origins, or if that we only called it Origins over here maybe, and it's 2 in Japan. Like, I don't know. I don't get how any of that's supposed
It's
to
an
work.
RPG
Yeah.
where your entire fight system is built on a deck of cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got something for Wheeler to play for a month. Really, basically.
All right.
I think if he tries to go through the whole thing, it's going to take him longer than
I
that.
remember, again, when Graham and I were doing Unskippable, there was a certain type of JRPG that we would run into
Yeah.
where, and it's partially because we were doing them for Unskippable, so you're just trying to get to the point where you've got like the cutscenes and stuff, and
Correct, yeah.
and so you're not like deeply invested in the game.
No.
And sometimes they do like the tutorial stuff before they get into the actual story.
Right, so you have to go
And-
through all this.
And the game where like my tolerance for like ridiculously complicated JRPG combat systems where it's like, okay, for every turn you get all these cards,
Right.
and then you use the cards, but it has to correspond to the like whatever the arena
number
that you're
that's here,
that you're currently in, and also the kind of enemy that you're fighting sometimes has different things, and then you use the card, and then the enemy will also use a card, and they have to match their thing, and you get to you're just like, oh my god, I just want to get through this so I can get to the opening cutscene, please.
Another thing that was interesting, actually.
Sure, this is interesting if you care about this game. but-
the booster course pass, Wave 4 of Mario Kart 8,
Yeah.
which, of course, we knew about the fact that they were doing
Waves.
the waves of these things, but I believe this is the first wave where they added a character.
Yeah. And Birdo is now in Mario Kart if you have
And
the booster
from the looks of it,
pass.
Birdo in different color palettes.
Oh, that's cool.
Ooh, different Birdos.
And that's like brand new.
Yeah.
And I think one of the courses they added is actually brand new as just a course.
That's right. Yeah, you're
Which-
right.
Which is like, because when
It's
they
weird.
announced that they were going to do this, it seemed like there's going to be a collection of stuff from previous games, which they have been doing.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone expected them to add new characters.
Are the different Birdos different
Like
different
Yoshi's?
different characters, or are they just the same Birdo in different colors? Is Birdo a species?
I think I think we only really run into one in
Yeah.
previous games.
Because the
But
different
that doesn't-
Yoshis are different individuals.
That
Exactly.
doesn't mean there couldn't be different Birdos.
Right. We've never actually met whatever species Birdo is.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So
Presumably they're a common species because they have eggs everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a there's definitely I have definitely seen fan art of people being like,
And like Birdo, like in the games, there's different colors, and some of them shoot eggs, and some shoot fireballs, and different stuff like that.
Super Mario 2, even for the NES, there was like there was a pink Birdo and there was a different colored Birdo.
There's a green one, I
Green
think.
one,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, because I think that had to do with more of the limitations of the color palette you could do in a certain area. But yeah, that's definitely.
Anyway,
we're getting another Katamari
ooh,
remake?
like a new one or a remake?
remake.
It's We Love Katamari remake. Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly
Wasn't
from what
We-
I've seen, people like this one a lot.
Wasn't We Love Katamari already like a best of?
I have no idea.
You get to play as the
like,
young king of all
it's-
cosmos. I
It's
know
kind of
that.
weird because it's like I'm aware of Katamari, but not in terms of like its lore and continuity within its games.
I mean, I think there was very little. It was mostly just like an excuse for like, here's another place, go do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you like weird ass tank controls, have fun.
I don't know if they still have the same controls for We Love Katamari or not, or if
That
they
would be-
got an upgrade.
That would be interesting because I mean, yeah, from what I understood, that was like a strong. That wasn't like a limitation. That was like a strong like philosophical point was that this is how it's supposed to be controlled.
Yeah.
They could have made it way easier to control.
Yeah.
But they decided not to.
And a lot of the like because a lot of that is like push forward with those sticks and the prince rolls the thing forward and then go in opposite directions and then he has to rotate along the ball essentially. He has to do that kind of thing. And it's like I can see why that makes sense because you are ultimately trying to move a giant object that has a lot of momentum and you have to position yourself in different ways and yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the last Katamari game that they brought out to the Switch, because they have done a remake of a Katamari game for the Switch before.
Yeah.
Must have done decently well for them to bring out another one.
They've got the fancy motion. They could just have like the thing. You actually just like roll your controller.
Yeah. Actually, it would be fun. You get a little thing that you put your controller inside and you just kind of roll a ball in your hand or
And then you could like shake it and find out.
to jump. You could even just have tilt controls, right? It's like I want to move forward, I want to stop, I want to rotate this way, I want to do this,
But
like,
I'm pretty sure if you're like, hey, people who make Katamari, you could just do the regular control system. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be like, we never thought of that.
yeah, no, they definitely
Like it was a deliberate choice.
sure they tried
Yeah.
everything.
But the Katamari games are kind of one of those like if you've never played them, they are one of those fun to like just noodle around in
They are fun and
'cause
weird and adorable.
It is weird to start out super tiny and only being picking up like paper clips, and then by the end of like a stage, you were picking up every piece of furniture in that house.
Yep.
And you're
then
picking
maybe
up
the
houses,
house.
and you're picking up the house,
Yeah.
and then the trees, and then mountains and towers and buildings,
Yeah.
and the prince never.
It's a different kind of destruction you're doing than some other things.
And the prince never what I like is that the ball that you're rolling gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but the prince never does. The prince is always the little teeny guy.
Yeah.
He's just bigger and bigger things. Anyway, yeah. So check out the Nintendo Direct if you haven't. You can see all that stuff in person or in
Yeah.
For
your
your
own time.
for yourself. And as we mentioned, it's fairly dense, so
Yeah.
you get to see lots of stuff. But in any case, thank you all for watching. Remember that this, as well as everything we do here on Loading Ready Run and on this channel, is brought to you by you over at our Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. You can also support us through subscribing, or you can,
You could give some super thanks on the YouTube
thanks.
if you want.
or buy stuff at our store.loadingreadyrun.com. There's all sorts of cool things.
There's like our Pride shirts. There's
Excellent shirts,
the hoodie,
hoodie.
I think I might have Road Quest bottles left, actually. I'm not sure.
but they won't quite look like that because they don't come in orange.
Yeah. Well, the
You've,
Road Quest bottles are orange.
Or sorry,
the
right,
Desert
the
Bus
Desert
bottles
Bus.
were gray. So you'll get an all orange bottle. You'll see it on the
Sorry, I got confused because I keep looking over there. I'm like, that's not what that's supposed to look
Yeah.
like.
So lots of cool stuff there. And thank you all for joining us. And we will talk to all y'all later. Bye.